Welcome to the Maximize Business Value podcast brought to you by Mastery Partners, where our mission is to equip business owners like you to maximize your business value and achieve the exit of your dreams, whatever that means to you. With insights gained from over 100 business transactions, we share real-world strategies, lessons, and expert advice to help you build long-term, sustainable value in your business. Each episode is hosted by one of our Mastery Certified partners. They're seasoned experts who've helped countless business owners navigate the complexities of growth, scaling, and building value. They bring first-hand experience, actionable insights, and a passion for helping you build a business that thrives. So let's dive in.
Hi, this is Dave Casey, and welcome to the Maximize Business Value podcast. This is for business leaders who are passionate about building long-term sustainable value in their businesses. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to Scott Schilling, who's a VP of Communications with the Sales and Marketing Department. So Scott, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Dave. I'm excited about this. I think we'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So we've met a few times, and I know we've got tons of connections in common. But give our listeners a little bit of a background on you and your company.
Well, thank you. I was very blessed. Back in the day, I went to the University of Iowa, and not only did I go there, I played Big Ten football for the great Hayden Fry. Go
Oh,
Hawks!
excellent.
So that was an amazing experience. But the reason I even start there is because I was going to graduate at a time where there were no jobs in the marketplace. Well, I was going to go to the Tippy Business School and get my Bachelor of Business Administration, marketing major. What was going to make me different than anybody else? And I actually became a licensed life insurance agent at age 18 while I was going to school and playing Big Ten football, because I really felt that if I had personal face-to-face communication ability, if I learned how to talk to people, I would have choices when I came out. And that's exactly what happened. I was very blessed to have 7 job offers coming out of college at a time when people had none.
Wow.
So that gave me choices. So sometimes you add a skill set, not for that day, but for the future, for the rest of your career, quite frankly. And I took one of those choices. Again, I was very blessed to have them. My dad worked for the same company for 46 years, from the time he was 17 till he was 63 when he retired. And so that's what was modeled for me, is you
Yeah.
go to work for a corporation, you work hard, you climb through the ladder. And I did. And I achieved that in about 10 years. I was at the top field position I could possibly have. And shocker, corporate America changed. And and I understood it. I just didn't like some of it.
Yeah.
And so I chose
Like you
to,
did everything right, but they changed the rules.
well, I don't, I would like to say I did most things right.
Yeah.
Uh, they asked me to do something I didn't agree with. They had every right to ask. I had every right to say no. I just didn't have every right to stay no and still work there. So,
It's an
so
age-old story, isn't it?
exactly. So I went off and into the consulting world, and from there, speaking in all sorts of different things from there.
Wow, how cool. Well, how cool, how forward thinking for a teenager to say, I'm going to be determined that this is what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. And, you weren't like, I'm going to play in the NFL for 10 years, so I don't need to even study. I'm just here to play football.
Well, I had those aspirations as well, but
Yeah,
completely severing an Achilles tendon, you know,
changes your
changed that
future.
outlook a little bit.
Yeah, no kidding. So I got to ask, the name of your company is the Sales and Marketing Department. So how did you come up with that?
Well, our founder, Rick Leslie, as he was talking about it, he said, there's one way to always get through the gatekeeper. And I said, what's that? He said, all you got to do is say you're from the sales and marketing department. And, And so
And you're
actually
not
as
lying.
well, that was the whole point. And so as he actually searched for company names and everything, he said, "Can you believe the sales and marketing department is available?" And I said, "Well, it's a long URL." So we actually have the URL TSAMD as
Yeah.
well. But the point is, one of the reasons is it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
We're a sales and marketing agency that helps people, uh, in fractional ways wherever they may need that help.
Wow. That's incredible. And it's, boy, the help is needed. Let me tell you, we know firsthand.
Exactly.
So
That's the fun. That's the fun is we get to experience all, sometimes it's sales help, sometimes it might be training help, sometimes it might be printing
yeah.
as an example, saving our clients on printing. So it could be a lot of different things.
Wow. So once you engage, then you look for many ways to serve, then it sounds like. Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. It quite frankly, none of it is about us. It is about the client and their need, and many times in this day and age, unfortunately, they don't have all the resources that they would like to
Yeah.
have, so they can't have a full-time C-suite. They can have a, but they could have a fractional, whether that be chief sales officer, chief marketing officer, uh, operations,
Sure.
wherever we can fill the gap to help lift them up so they can accomplish what they truly want to accomplish.
Yeah, and that's exactly our audience that we're focused at Mastery Partners. We're focused on that small to mid market part of the business world. And many times they're new companies, fast growing companies, revenues maybe a couple $1 million up to $50 million, but still they're in that spot where they sometimes get out over their skis a bit, and they don't have access to that next level of professionalism. That they can't afford to put those kind of folks on staff on payroll. So it's part of what we do is figure out where those gaps might be, and then where we can help them, and bring people to help them. Essentially, a lot
Yeah,
of times too.
very much so.
Do that.
There's so many good people that, the entrepreneur themselves in the early stages, become chief cook and bottle washer,
You
right?
bet. Yeah, they do.
They're the innovator. They've had the master idea. They've got the fire burning in their belly to really
Yep,
go execute it. But nobody has ever talked to them about having their board of directors around them, their whole group of experts to be there.
sure.
And I think this whole um, kind of evolution of fractional C-suites
Mhm.
makes a tremendous amount of sense.
It does, and again, it allows them, if they'll let themselves do this, relinquish that control, but relinquish it to somebody that's a superb professional in that area, and is going to deliver a lot better results than they could do doing it themselves, or hiring somebody that kind of fits their budget, that's going to, that for a full-time position. We've seen a lot of leverage by using fractional services and fractional
Yeah, very
professionals.
much so.
So communications, as you might know, what we do when we engage with clients, we first thing we do is what we call a transition readiness assessment. We do a top to bottom assessment of their company. I call it head to toe because I used to be an EMT, and that's what you always did, was a head to toe assessment. And essentially, what we do is we gather over 400 data points about the company, and then we look for areas where there's opportunities for improvement or things that are actually hindering them taking that next step or growing to the next level. Communications is one that pops up plenty of places. So both internal and external. So when you engage, what have you seen that really is some of the biggest challenges to effectively improving communications within a company?
Well, I think classically, I'm a sales guy,
Yeah,
and people typically make sales way too hard. It's typically only four words: identify problem, provide solution.
Hmm.
And what many organizations do is they're so enamored with their own solution, they try to take it to places where there, quite frankly, isn't a problem
Right.
for it to solve, right? So part of it is direction and it's messaging. Um, One of the things that I share with clients is, quite frankly, I don't want a sales department to ever sell anything to anybody, but I do always want them to create an environment where people want to buy
Yeah.
what we offer,
Yeah.
right? So it's really about creating the relationships where people understand the benefits they will derive when they purchase our products, goods, or services.
Sure.
So I think one of the things is that we see very quickly is messaging. They're so companies get so enamored with their own stuff that they talk about their own stuff and how wonderful they are and how long they've been doing their stuff and all that. And it's not about them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's about how this will serve and benefit their customer, how it will make their life easier, how it will make their business work better, all those kinds of things. So part of it is just when we go in, we listen.
Yeah. Yep.
We hear the challenges that might go on, and they might have many of the areas locked down pretty well, but there's typically a limiter that shows itself, that exposes itself.
Hmm.
Uh, had a client recently that said, "Well, we're gonna, you know, hire salespeople at $120,000. That's awesome. You're going to get every sales person that's
Yeah.
worth their salt looking at that spot." And then they explained how they came to the math, and the math wasn't mathing. The fact is,
Yeah.
it was, while it was a great goal,
Yeah.
the process to get there was not possible.
Yeah.
So there was such an incongruence in between the stated desire and the ability to deliver. Well, if you can spot that before they make that mistake, it's going to save a lot of time in irritating a lot of
Oh
people
yeah.
on all
And
sides, right?
going down some blind canyons and probably losing some good people along the way. So
Exactly.
yeah.
You're going to push a bunch of people away, and quite frankly, ultimately in this day and age, your business reputation and everything else is going to be harmed. Back in the day, it was hard to communicate that these guys didn't have their head screwed on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Today, it's really easy.
Yeah, it's quick. Yeah, yeah. So when we perform our assessments on companies, and mention that kind of that head to toe, so we look at every aspect of the company and where, and its effect on the company's value. And so that communications comes up in lots of places. So it's
Right.
certainly in HR. Sales, as you've described, is incredibly important. I think marketing and just kind of way the outside world views the company and its products and services and so on, and even public relations, where they stand in the community and what they stand for as a company. So, which part of those areas you mentioned sales? Are there other areas that you guys get involved with a company?
Oh, certainly. You were a participant in a talk that I did not long ago about translating between the generations.
Yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
and really understanding that just like we work so hard to maybe take a disc assessment or Myers-Briggs or bank or colors, or we use these personality assessments to get the right people on the right side of the bus, right?
Yep. Yep.
Well, similarly, there are generational attributes in
Yep.
play, and we now have at least four generations in play across. In fact, it's interesting, just before we got on here, I was reading an article on how managers were firing Gen Z for all these different quote unquote maladies
Yeah. Yeah.
that are pretty much communications issues
Yep.
in that case. So, you know, we've got the world has changed. And it always does. I mean, there's nothing so constant as change, right? The fact is that our ability to communicate through these changes has also changed. The learning style. The boomer generation was the last full generation to learn via rote memory.
Mm-hmm.
1A, 1B, 2A,
Yep.
2B, 3A, 3B, memorize it in order, put it in your head, carry it with you. The generations younger than boomers started being taught where to find knowledge
Right.
as opposed to carry knowledge.
Yep.
Well, how does that affect the workplace from a communication side? If there is a manager who holds a piece of knowledge in their head and believes everybody should, and you have a younger employee who was never taught that, does not carry that knowledge in their head, now all of a sudden there's a communication gap because the older generation says, well, you should know this. The younger generation says, how should I know this? I've never been taught.
Yeah. Or even further, they may say, I don't need to know that. I just need to know where to get that information. I can go find it quicker than you can recall it. You know?
Well, and there's truth to that, and it goes in both directions. But
Sure.
I'm just saying, as an example, with communication, I think one of the things that has changed in my world tremendously over time is people's desire to communicate.
Thank you for tuning in to the Maximize Business Value podcast. This episode is the first of a 2-part release. Part 2 will be posted next week.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Maximize Business Value podcast. I hope today's conversation sparked new ideas on how you can continue driving value in your business. But remember, it's not just about listening. It's about taking massive action. Visit our website, masterypartners.com, for more resources. Grab a copy of any of the books in the Maximize Business Value series on Amazon or via the links below. And don't hesitate to reach out if you want to know how to apply these concepts to your business. So until next time, I'm Tom Bronson, reminding you to relentlessly execute while you maximize business value.